So, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So what's interesting here is that the first thing that God does, the first action he takes after he shows up, is that he corrects the darkness. And we also learn that he speaks things into existence, which means that words are very powerful. And if we are like him, then do our words also carry the weight to change our lives for either good or bad? I mean, think about it. When was the last time you've been super excited about something, and you told someone and you thought they'd be happy for you, and then they started listing off reasons why it was like risky or what all the things that could go wrong, and it kind of put a damper on your mood and your excitement and made you kind of feel bad about it, like their words did that. And I wonder what that feeling could do. How could that feeling that you got from their words affect your actions towards that thing? Maybe you won't be as passionate about it. Maybe you won't put 100% into it. Words are powerful. So God called the light out, and it obeyed. And God is demonstrating that he has the power over everything, and he can call things out and they just obey like that. He's saying or commanding things to form with his words. So I wonder if this means that he doesn't have to actually say anything to create, but he is though. But why? I think it's to show us something, the impact of words on this reality, and to point out the spoken word of God, which is foreshadowing to what takes place later in the series. And I say series because there are many books, and it's kind of like a TV show in a way that has different seasons and different episodes. And light here kind of means illumination, which is interesting because it's not just physical light, but it's illumination compared to the chaos that was before. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. So to separate kind of means to go in and get one thing and to set it apart from the other thing. To set something apart. So he separates the light from the darkness. He didn't just make a light. The next thing he does, the second thing, is he sets it apart from darkness, which is also foreshadowing. And he is separating illumination and clarity from chaos, and physical light from physical dark. So this shows that God brings illumination and clarity to dark places, which is a good thing if you are good and of God, but a terrifying thing if you are or are doing evil. And there is nothing that evil hates more than exposure, except for God. It hates God more. When God sheds light on your life, what will he find? Will he find good or evil? This separation of light and darkness is foreshadowing kind of the entire Bible. Light and dark clashing like oil and water. And separate means that they do not mix. They have to be separate now. They cannot mix. God commanded it. So saw here, when he saw that the light was good, so the word kind of means reflecting on, surveying. He concluded, noted the light that he had just made, and then he approved of it. He said that it was good. And this word is kind of whatever enhances, promotes his life, which ties back into the term of the deep and the waters changing. So which means that God creates only good things. And this is the next thing we learn about him. The God produces good, life-giving things. Wherever God is, or wherever God goes, life and good things for life follow. It's just a result of his presence. And what's interesting here is that light is called good and darkness is not. And darkness is the absence of light. They are opposites. And we get the first play on words of spiritual darkness being the absence of God, who brings life and light and commands light, and darkness being the opposite, which is death. And we start to sense that God has an order to what he's doing. And it's kind of comforting to know that God sees you, and he is purposeful and orderly, and he will bring clarity and light and life wherever he goes. And which means that he can bring it to you and to your life. And we learn that God separates what is light from what is dark, what is good from what is desolate, emptiness, and chaos. He separates life from death. He didn't do away with the dark, but he separated or set apart the light from the dark, meaning that they are completely separate and they cannot exist in the same exact place at the same exact time. Right in the beginning, this clash of light and dark, life and death, good and bad seems to be brought up on day one. It's the first thing that God commands. And this play on words of light and dark shows us that God separates light and dark inside of us, inside of our souls and our hearts. And it's actually usually a very painful process that people walk away from. But it's necessary to be alive and in God. And if God's the one who brings life and who life follows, to be a part of life and to be alive, you have to be in God and be separated and apart from death. You have to be set apart from death. And as humans, I know that we are not all good and we are not all bad, but pieces or aspects of us can be either or. Think of like a shape of a person, and it's clear and it's full of a ton of grains of black and white sand, and they're all mixed together in places, and from far away it can give the appearance of kind of shades of gray, or in certain spots in the person there can be more white sand and less dark sand, or more dark sand and less light sand. But God's goal is to sift, literally pour you out. So imagine that mold of a person being poured out into this sifter, and he wants to sift all of the darkness out of us. And that's kind of a painful process, because you're taking out pieces that you may have identified with. You're taking out different aspects of yourself that did not come from God. And not everybody wants to go through that, but it's necessary if you want to be alive. So God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. So God calls the light day and the darkness night. He gives a name to the light and the darkness and tells them what they are. So the reason this is so important and why it's specified that God gave the light and darkness names is because in biblical times, at the time this was written, names were so very important. And they often represented the function and the purpose of a person, the purpose of their life, like their whole life's work. And it could represent the purpose of a person, place, or thing. So God giving the light and dark titles is him giving them job descriptions, and it's kind of showing that they work for him, and he named them, which is the same thing as telling them their purpose. So he is saying that even darkness, chaos, confusion, obscurity has to answer to him and is named by him, and he gave it its function. And in other creation stories of that time, everything came from chaos. It's like there was chaos and everything emerged from it. Kind of reminds you of like the Big Bang Theory. And so God is stating here that he has absolute control over even chaos, and actually does the creating himself. So where other creation stories said that life came from and everything came from, God is saying that he is actually life, and life follows him. Life did not come from chaos. And so he challenges this existing belief that they have. And what we learn about God here is that he does not expect blind devotion. And he is actually taking the time to explain why he is worthy to be praised. He's going through how he created everything. He's going through how life follows him and he himself is life. So in a time where they were told what to believe, they were slaves, they didn't get choices, he's taking the time to explain to these people that had just gone through a whole lot, and torture, really hell on earth. He's taking the time to explain to them why they should follow him. He's not expecting them just to follow him because he said so, which is what they were used to. It's actually very kind and compassionate, and shows that God cares about them and that he cares about us. He cares enough to explain this whole process, that he is the life bringer, and that he created all of life and everything, and that's why he's to be praised and worshipped. And he just parted the Red Sea for them, and they're following him by a cloud of fire at night and a cloud of smoke by night. And so they have his presence there with them. He's building this relationship. He's establishing this relationship with him, and giving them his like background story kind of, and showing that he cares about them. And he does not want to be he does not want to tell them to follow him. He wants them to choose, which is something they didn't have as slaves. They didn't have choice. And so God is being very kind and compassionate to them, and he really loves them, and he really loves us. And so the day here, he called the light day and the darkness night. Day, very literally, the Hebrew term is to be hot, and night is to twist. That's kind of the Hebrew term, what the Hebrew term meant, as in away from the light. And it kind of makes me think of a light bulb being twisted in and out. Dark, light, day, night. So there was dark and then there was light, and that was the first day, or the first cycle of time that we see here. So God is even commanding time itself. And so time has most likely officially started in this new physical reality, our realm that God has created. But it's not stated exactly how time passes or how long a day is. So my question is, if two worlds are colliding here, the spiritual and our physical reality, then which world's time zone, which realm's time zone is used? Most likely it would be God's time zone. And I don't know how long a day is in the time zone of eternity. So it could have been one day to us, or it could have been a day to God. And so days, what we notice here is that days are starting at evening, and dark is coming before light, which is kind of the opposite of what we have now, or what we practice now. So this kind of mirrors when, just like when God first started creating, and there was dark, and then God commanded there to be light. he's kind of following that same pattern of evening and then morning. And days starting in the evening is actually still a Jewish tradition. They still follow that. And so my question is, why would God even bother differentiating days? If he is outside of time, then it does not matter to him. Like, does he even, like, days don't even pass the same to him in eternity. So, like, why would he go work in a system of days? Why even bother saying day one? And I think that he's showing us that things in this world, this physical reality, work in cycles. And it's kind of actually very poetic this way. Like, he's establishing and he's giving us the kind of ground rules for how this reality works and functions. He's establishing this day and night, this evening and morning, this cyclical nature of this reality. And actually, it's mirrored everywhere in creation. We have the seasons cycling through. We have like a woman's cycle every month. There's so many different cycles in nature. So it's kind of interesting. It's almost like if you want to work with this physical reality, you want to kind of get on board with the cycles of things. Tap into God and pray and ask him what spot we're at in the cycle, and kind of get with him and make a strategy of how to work with the cycles and the natural ebb and flow of this reality and of life. A little strategy there. Some women are actually doing this with cycle syncing is what it's called. It's where you do most of your work, or women work with their monthly cycle, and they do most of their work where they're most productive, like right before their cycle usually, and then they do their resting things and their self-care more so towards the end of the month, when they're resting and they don't have as much energy. It's kind of the same idea. You can get with God and create a make together with him a spiritual strategy or like a game plan based on the cycles of life and the seasons of life and how things move in this reality. And the poetic nature of it being split into days is kind of showing us that God is creative, and he's kind of like an artist creating this masterpiece or this poem. And he's not just robotically making commands and just forming things in a factory or an assembly line, kind of. He's actually taking his time and fashioning things and looking it over and saying that it's good and admiring it. And that it's good and that it's beautiful. And he's showing that he cares about beauty and about art and making things beautiful. And God said, "Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So this expanse, this word, it's like an expanse of air. The space between the waters. There's waters above and there's waters below. And this word kind of implies something spread out or stretched. And the reason for this is because the people of this time in the culture believed that there was this physical solid dome over the whole earth. It kind of is like, resembles sheets being nailed into place and nailed together, and they're going off of what they know. Of course, we know that's not the case now, but that's how they described it and kind of the meaning of this word, expanse. But perhaps the expanse of air is also referencing the invisible veil placed between the two dimensions as well. Just something to think about and remember for later. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. So God said, let there be an expanse, but then he made it after. So it kind of seems like it started as an idea first in his mind, and then it was brought out into this physical reality. So it implies that the expanse existed before it was made here in this reality. So God's words created it before it was actually made. So God's words are reality, and words are reality, but God's words have more authority. And words are made tangible after they are said. Words seem to influence reality here, especially God's words. Like it was the expanse. It's like things are made spiritually, and they exist in the spiritual reality and realm, and then they show up afterwards in this physical reality here. And God actually speaks things into our lives in the same way. It has already happened. Like when he speaks them to us, it has already happened in his realm. It is already done. And then later on, at the right time, it happens in our realm. Kind of like a package being ordered and then being delivered. Being ordered is the spiritual realm, God speaking it, and being delivered is it showing up in this reality. And the question is, what will you find in your package when God speaks into your life? A reward or judgment? Something to think about. And so we learn that things happen spiritually in God's realm before they happen physically in our realm, which means we had better watch what we do so that we don't get a package with a bunch of confetti or some like fart gas or something in it. I don't know about you, but I want some chocolate cake in my package. I don't want any judgment at all, so we better get on board with God. And so this waters below and waters above. So he made the expanse and separated the waters that were under from the waters that were above the expanse. So this is like the sea and the sky physically in our realm, where other groups of the time, like other religions of the time, worshipped these things like sea and sky. God continues to show that he had authority and rules over them and has the right to name them and give them their job in the first place because he made them. And God saying it was so, we learn that God's word is final. He is the authority, like a king finalizing a decree. And when kings finalized their decrees in that time, they could not change them. Like that was final. And remember, you are the love beyond measure child of the King. The word of God is your weapon. This is sword forging. This is freedom. Shake off your sleep and listen with your whole soul.